Hi, I'm Patty Eckman.
And I'm Alan Eckman.
And this is Prairie Edge Hunt. Prairie Edge Hunt is our fourth in a series of large commission pieces we created for Prairie Edge Fine Art Gallery in Rapid City, South Dakota. The women and children of this family are caught in the melee of a buffalo hunt. All four pieces tell the story of a Lakota family living on the prairie near the Black Hills. The buffalo bulls rush by the protective cove as the hunters pursue them.
And the hunters above use the cliff as a buffalo jump.
This is a very effective way for hunters to supply the whole village with buffalo meat.
The falling buffalo can easily crush anyone below.
Little Bear runs to the safety of her grandmother as her mother protects her baby brother from falling rocks. Her sister, Little Flower, encourages her to run.
This big bull narrowly misses Little Bear. The Indians would pile rocks and place a buffalo skull on top in prayer to attract the buffalo. A magpie sitting on a rock is startled by the hunters going by.
A few misplaced arrows can mean the end for this hunter.
And that's the story of Prairie Edge Hunt. This is another one of our large pieces called Replenishment. On this video, we want to tell the story of the evolution of our work and a little bit of how we do it. These are the elements that we created that we put on the background for Replenishment.
We want to show you some work we've accomplished and some other work that we would like to do.
This is a larger than life-size piece I'd like to accomplish in paper and do as a bronze.
About 22 or 23 years ago, while we were working on this brochure and advertising, we saw cast paper for the first time.
And this piece is what we saw. Now this is the state of the art in cast paper. What we're showing you is a state of our art, the Eckman method of fine art cast paper sculpture. This is where we got started. Back in 1987, this was my first piece, the Sioux War Chief. From there, I took it to a higher level. These were all limited edition pieces.
With each piece that we did, we learned something new.
We learned a lot about casting and how to make paper that we could make hair and feathers out of. This piece, Cherokee, really unlocked the secrets for us in this medium. As you can see, we progressed pretty rapidly in this tribal series, adding casts, sculpting, chasing, really pushing the medium to a higher level. With every piece, I tried to do something new, something different, something I've never tried before, something that no one had ever tried before. Here you can see in Mohawk, that hair. We learned how to do hair with this one, didn't we, Patty?
Yes, we did. You had me cutting every strand of hair with the scissors until we figured out that it was with a paper cutter we could do it faster and better.
Yeah, and I also invented a little gadget that helped us do that too.
Here I'm putting some finishing touches on the Cherokee. This is how we chase the pieces, adding the detail and putting the jewelry and the feathers on.
And Sitting Bull's visions really put us on the map, didn't it?
Sitting Bull's Visions is a masterpiece executed by the noted cast paper sculptor Alan Eckman. It is over 8 feet high, 6 feet wide, and 18 inches in relief. The work is entirely made from museum-quality cast paper. The eagle's wingspan measures over 7 feet, and there are over 3,000 feathers on the bird. Each feather is separately sculpted and added later. At the base is Sitting Bull's sacred skull, which he used in the Sundance. Sitting Bull's face emerges out of the rock while the ledge beneath contains a nest of eaglets. Again, notice the eagle's feathers. The detail is incredible. Notice the relationship between the adult eagle and the first eaglet. The artist's conception of Sitting Bull's visions as the great warrior endured his grueling 36-hour Sundance were that the meadowlark told him the Sioux would kill him. On the rocks in petroglyph form is the story of his life. His first coup at age 14 was the day he humanely killed a Crow woman who was being burned at the stake by Sioux squaws. Sitting Bull's most famous vision was that of the annihilation of Custer and the 7th Cavalry under his direct command at Little Bighorn. Symbolically, the eagle is Sitting Bull, and Sitting Bull is a mountain. The eaglets represent the Sioux, and the meadowlark brings the message from Wakan Tonka, God.
Sitting Bull was not always destined to be a chief. What he was a great medicine man of the Sioux nation. He was a Hunkpapa Sioux, and he lived in the area around the Black Hills. Just before the Battle of Little Bighorn, Sitting Bull did the Sundance. He'd done it before, but this was for victory. It was for food for his people. They were threatened, and there's a time that he really took very seriously. But during the time where he did this Sundance ritual, his life passed before him.
Wow, it's hard to believe we were ever that young. Now we're going to show you Patty's pieces. And this is not her first, but it is white on white cast paper. And this is a more advanced piece where we took it out of that white on white stage and started adding casts to the background.
While Alan was working on Sioux War Chief and Osage Brave, I was working on these two.
This was my last in the tribal series. This was the Lakota Shaman. Earlier I had done 175 in the series in each edition. That was too many. This one I changed to 65, and this nearly sold out. This life-size Geronimo was still white on white. And from here, I did the Lakota Shaman, also life-size. They were both commissions. Really learned a lot on these two and created a lot of detail on each one. His shield inspired me to do a whole series of shields.
The Lakota Shaman was the last white-on-white piece that Alan accomplished. By now we had learned to do freestanding pieces on a relief background. This changed the way we did everything. You can see all the detail we were able to put in this piece, Apache Wilderness. Many people think that all we do is Western art or Native American subjects, but we've done many portraits over the years. This is an award-winning self-portrait that I encouraged Alan to do for our family about his military combat experience. I wanted him to enter this piece in the National Veterans Creative Arts Festival, and he won the gold medal. This is another self-portrait he did for the same competition the following year. Not on My Watch tells the story of Alan's commitment as a radio operator in combat. He actually won 2 national awards for this piece. The first was a gold medal in the Veterans Creative Arts Festival, and the second was Best of Show in the Wounded in Action art exhibition put on by the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Here are a series of portraits I did for some other people. This is a friend of mine and his combat experience, Colonel Al Morgan. And you can see that I framed them with actual pictures, photographs, and memorabilia. This is an Eagle Scout with an actual eagle perched on his right arm. This larger than life-size portrait of Sitting Bull I did from a drawing. I cut foam board using that drawing, registered it with pens, and completely sculpted it with our pulp. The next portrait commission I want to show you is of 2 lacrosse players in period dress. The commission was from a modern-day Mohawk whose sons play modern-day lacrosse.
This piece, called Powwow Practice 2, is of a mother and daughter jingle dress dancer. I sculpted the little girl, and Alan sculpted her mother.
I've been very fascinated with Native American dance over the years, and as a result of that, both of us have done several dancers.
With this traditional dancer, Alan won another gold medal and had the piece selected to grace the cover of the VA's Journal of Rehabilitation Research and Development.
Among Patty's great accomplishments was this piece, A Mother's Legacy, which won the 2008 Heart of the West Show competition at the Cowgirl Hall of Fame. This piece was also acquired by the Booth Western Art Museum in Cartersville, Georgia. Patty and her piece, A Mother's Legacy, were featured on the cover of I Am Cowgirl magazine. The article inside talked about our family and Patty's legacy as a mother. Her incredible strength as we experienced the loss of our daughter Michelle to cancer in 1994, and my business partner.
These next 2 pieces I completed in 2008 for the Heart of the West show. Here's a little boy in his father's headdress dreaming about his first buffalo hunt. Then there's Powwow Butterflies, a mother and daughter shawl dancer team at the powwow. We can get so much movement and action with the paper. Notice the flying detail in the fringe and the designs on the back of the shawls. In this next piece, called Family Powwow, I wanted to portray a family in all their finest regalia, getting ready for the grand entrance in the powwow. I used my daughter Wendy as a model for this piece, called I Warned Him. This sassy cowgirl is loading her .45 revolver. She's thinking about what she might do to her cheating boyfriend's pickup.
And Canadian Cowboy magazine thought so much of this piece, when they wrote an article about us, they put it on the cover of their December issue. But I'll show you a sassy cowgirl. That's my Patty.
Here's an article in Southwest Art Magazine written a few years back about Team Eckman. On our website, on the bio page, we've got downloadable PDFs where you can read these magazine articles and book pages that have been written about us, our work, and our process.
I love the mother-daughter powwow theme, and I did this piece years ago. But since then, Patty's done several Little Dancers. In fact, she's done a whole series of quarter life-size in limited edition. This piece is called Little Butterfly Bear. Look at that flying detail. The expression on her face is so lifelike. In this series of hoop dancers that Patty did and I did, you can see her limited edition piece there and this faux bronze that I did in half life size.
Little Bear Dancing is a quarter life-size piece and was the very first in a children's series I started a few years ago after we finished our third large format series called Prairie Edge Powwow. Notice her flying braids and her feathers and the ribbons in her hair, and then she's got flying detail in the fringe on her buckskins. She's thrown her doll down on the ground and picked up a stick so she could dance with it. She was modeled after the little girl who was actually the center of attention in the powwow scene. And I had several collectors ask me if I would do just her alone.
And here she is, Little Bear, dancing at the powwow, while Little Flower, her sister, points at her, kind of laughing. It's a little politically incorrect for a girl to be dancing at a powwow, but she wants to demonstrate her courage to her father, the chief. Her grandfather sits on a horse and watches from above, as does the mighty golden eagle. Prairie Edge Powwow was the third in the series that Patty and I did together. We both worked hard on these drummers. And there it is. Prairie Edge Powwow. This can be seen at the Booth Western Art Museum in Cartersville, Georgia. And here is Little Bear Dancing 2. The second in the series that Patty did.
This little guy here that I'm working on is called Little Eagle Dancing. We begin with a starter cast, pose the figure, and sculpt on top with hard and soft paper to create all the detail that you see here. The soft paper works like clay to fill and smooth the surface. We make paper that looks like leather to create his dance outfit, and then casted beads are added for detail. Here I am working on the fringe and adding the detail to the side of his leggings. And there he is, finished, Little Eagle Dancing, complete with a dance fan in his hand and a porcupine roach headdress.
This is a great piece, Patty.
Thank you.
Majestic Combat is one of the many wildlife pieces that I've done. Both Patty and I have done many wildlife pieces. Two bull elk going at it. I love doing buffalo hunt scenes because of the action. This is about a gelding that the bull is going under. This is his last hunt. He survives it, as does everyone, including the buffalo.
This is another piece Alan and I worked on together called The Way. It is a half life-size Cherokee father pointing the way to his small son. We were commissioned to do this piece for a contemporary rock star and his son, who is actually a Cherokee.
From the sketch, we executed this piece, and here you can see the piece in work in progress, and there it is finished with all the detail, complete with grass and a tree. The Warriors in the Wind is an ongoing series that both Patty and I do. I do mostly warriors, while Patty does the women and children. They're all one of a kind. Most of them are a third life size, but some of them are half life size and even life size, like Offering of the Buffalo Medicine. Here Patty's working on one of her pieces, a woman holding a cradle board. You can see the starter cast. She's got the figure pose. She's working on the hands, and they're all abridged kind of at the knees. And they're all wall hangings framed in a clear acrylic box.
I'm attaching 2 feathers to a medicine wheel, and I'm going to put that in her hair. The cradle board is finished, but I'm still working on her hands and her hair and her face and her clothing.
Light and shadow is the brush used to articulate form in sculpture. And like a classical marble statue, you can see how well the light works to describe the form in our medium. With all the detail that we add, it really creates a lifelike appearance to our sculpture. You see, she can move that hair around and actually put detail underneath. In a lot of sculpture, what you see is what you get.
With our work, we cover detail with even more detail. Here I'm adding beadwork to her dress. There's beadwork on the cradle board and feathers added.
This Warrior in the Wind is a good example up close of what we can do with detail. Now you can see behind his hair he's actually wearing looped earrings, and that beaded and bear claw necklace is actually strung and tied behind his head before I added the hair. You can see veins in his hands, wrinkles at the knuckles, fringe. Horsehair tips on the ends of the feathers, and a tassel at the end of his pipe. It's the detail that people love, and that's what we love to do. It really is a labor of love. A lot of people think we have patience. I think it takes patience to fish. Just love doing the detail on these pieces. Putting character in the face, giving the pieces a personality. Here you can see that mother loves her baby.
The turtle is a symbol of long and healthy life to the Native Americans. You can see I've attached a turtle amulet near the point of each board. They would put the baby's umbilical cord inside the pouch and decorate the outside with beads.
The paper really lends itself to detail. There you can see the leather. It's actually got a leather grain in her dress. Now this is a work in progress, obviously. But it shows how the rider is posed from the starter cast, and I call it an articulated armature. From there I can add detail. And you can see the horse, that's pretty much the way it's registered together after coming out of the mold. From there it would be posed, and there you see a rider posed near completion, as is the horse. But they both pretty much started the way you saw in the clip just before this. And this is another rider. This is a series we call Riders on the Wind. I do these in both 1/6 life size, as you saw on the pieces that I was working on, and quarter life size. Again, these are all one of a kind, started the same way with a cast from a mold, and then posed and completed from there in our paper. That's what we call the Eckman method of fine art cast paper sculpture. It's a process that we have developed, and we're the only artists in the world currently that have mastered this. But we're starting to teach this now. We've done some workshops, but most artists learn by the project lessons that we have developed on DVD.
Alan's calf roper was our first piece acquired by the Booth Western Art Museum and is a quarter life-size freestanding pedestal piece. This cowboy comes complete with fringed chaps, mustache, and a Colt 45 in its holster.
Both Patty and I love history, and the Civil War is just a fascinating part of our nation's history. I did a series of Civil War figures, a lot of the generals, and of course Robert E. Lee, Jeb Stuart, Stonewall Jackson, and some of the troops.
The flags in the backgrounds are authentic battle flags sculpted from our hand-dyed paper.
Some of these were done in Warrior in the Wind style with just a background and an abridged figure, and others were freestanding. We did a series in the North and in the South. And this is the Great Emancipator that I did as a commission. Abraham Lincoln writing his Emancipation Proclamation. This is Custer and Chamberlain with their battle flags.
Both Alan and I had relatives who fought in the Civil War. My great-great-great-grandfather, Austin Larson, was a private in the 15th Illinois Cavalry. Recovering from wounds he received, he spent the last few years of the war in a Union hospital. Had he died from his wounds or been killed in the battle during these last terrible years, I probably wouldn't be here. Here's one of my wildlife commissions called Panda Pleasures, a contented mother holding her cub. Then came Alan's Roo commission for an actual kangaroo ranch.
Some more wildlife pieces that we've created are just the head studies of different animals. We're actually going to teach artists how to do these from starter casts. We've done a lot of flat art pieces, both as giclée prints on canvas and paper. These limited edition pieces are all created from photographs that we've taken of our pieces over the years, and then composites. This piece, called Babysitting 10 Little Ones, features 10 of Patty's cradleboard pieces. Calling the Buffalo is one of my favorite pieces, done from warriors that I've created over the years, and it's all sculpture. But this one, I've combined some sculpture, a dancer, a buffalo dancer, dancing on the rim of the Grand Canyon, and that's an actual photograph that I took at the Grand Canyon. And this is a sunset that I took near our home, and I made the warriors a little bit transparent in this one, and I call it Sioux Spirit Sunset. In many of these prints, I've used my landscape photography to set the mood and complete the story I'm telling with my sculpture. This piece I call Mystic Powwow, and this is an all sculpture piece that I completed with both mine and Patty's sculpture that we've created over a number of years in different scale. This print I did as a sculpture, and you can see how I've composited the different sculpture elements to create this print. And then I learned how to paint it. This is all digitally done. The warrior I created from 13 different sculptures. And I did the same with this piece, Standing Elk's Vision.
Teton Booty is a digital art piece that Alan designed from his sculpture and his landscape photography. It was the 2009 gold medal winner for digital art in the National Veterans Creative Arts Festival, and his 4th gold medal in as many years. The tracks in the snow were actually from a moose. Alan turned them into horse tracks. This is a limited edition giclée on canvas.
It was a beautiful cold day when we were out there at the Tetons, and we took a lot of pictures. This painting Patty did is an oil that is also a limited edition. Patty is an award-winning advertising illustrator, and she loves to paint. This shows it.
The prints that we have designed over the years are great companions with many of the miniature sculptures and have a very interesting look framed together. When Love Soars is a story about a warrior courting his favorite girl with his love flute.
Both Patty and I have done hundreds of miniatures over the years, and this is one of mine. It's called War Bonnet Display. I did this miniature in color to accompany the print painting The Prayer Warrior. And here are some more of Patty's wonderful miniature pieces. I really love this piece called The Babysitter.
These miniatures are sold in most of the galleries that represent us, and also you can find them on our website. On many of these pieces of mine, the term miniature is really a misnomer. They're life-size pieces, but because they're small sculptures, we call them miniatures. Like this one, Waiting for Lunch, one of my latest. This piece that I did called The Gathering has a family of quail pecking on the ground for food in a tulip garden.
We've taken some of our sculptures to bronze by molding the paper and creating bronzes. Some of these we've created that we're going to show you, and some of these are just composites that represent what we can do. The wonderful thing about this process is the original can be archived. This is a cowboy holding a calf called Saved from the Flood, where I molded the paper and took it to the bronze that you see on the left here. This piece called Northern Plains Fancy Dancer was acquired by Ripley's Believe It or Not in 2009. It's a half life-size piece, and it's at the museum that's in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. A fitting place. And it made the 2011 annual. This is another piece that Ripley's acquired in 2010 called Tracking Geronimo. The elusive Geronimo hides in a hole underneath two Apache scouts who think that they might see him below in a valley. As a trooper searches the valley with a pair of binoculars, Geronimo has his .45 cocked to his ear, ready to take him on if he has to. This relief wall hanging is 60 by 44 by 9 inches in relief. It's a quarter life size, and both Patty and I worked on this piece.
Project lessons are for learning acid-free fine art cast paper sculpture using the Eckman method.
And Patty's Flowers is one of those programs that we offer to teach artists the Eckman method. This is a progressive program where an artist can start at a beginning level, level 1, and advance to their God-given ability.
Here you see me working on the Daisy kit.
These kits provide a DVD video instruction and all the paper and the tools that artists need to learn the Eckman method of fine art cast paper sculpture. Artists can advance to a level that will teach them how to do figures, animals, birds, and backgrounds. Eckman method is a program for artists at a more advanced level who want to jump in and do a project lesson. The step-by-step DVDs show intermediate and advanced artists how to create pieces from the kit with starter casts and paper to create a beautiful sculpture for display as they learn. This is a life-size buffalo pipe. These elk antlers were carved, as was that pipe head, from a solid block of paper like wood. It was cut out with a coping saw, and then it will be added to this starter cast, a bull elk. And here's a horse with a rider. The first rider will hold a bow and arrow, and this rider a lance. And this lance is the accessory that will be held by that rider. Here are some of the frame pieces and the framing that we offer. Beautiful clear acrylic boxes. The same box that we designed for us. Your Molds and the Eckman Method is a program for advanced artists who are working with molds to create bronze, like this one, called Taking the Bull with the Bow, porcelain or resin casts. The kit and the DVD will instruct artists how to take their creation to a much higher level using our pulp and our paper. This warrior has a rifle, a Sharp's carbine. He's taking the bull with the bow, not the rifle. With our inventive tools, techniques, and paper, artists can recreate their pieces with unimaginable detail. Using the molds from Taking the Bull with the Bow, I recreate that same piece in our museum quality cast paper sculpture. I teach techniques that I've learned over the years, like altered cast and how to create detail on their sculptures the same way I do. The detail that was added to this bronze, you can see is very lifelike in the grass, the tail and the mane on the horse, the woolly buffalo. Bronzes are called limited edition originals because of the chasing involved in the waxing and the bronze. But in this medium, the originality stands on its own. Even the skull on the ground was recreated from molds. But I was able to put much more detail in this cast paper sculpture than in the bronze. And I was able to recreate it as a relief. In this version, since it was the same scale, we used it in Prairie Edge Hunt.
We hope you've enjoyed seeing the evolution of our medium and our artwork over the last 2 decades. Alan and I feel blessed to have been able to make our living as fine artists, pioneering a new medium